Hello! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sam, and today we are going to go through the process of me creating this mixed media angel. Let's go! Initially, this angel was inspired by my previous soft oil pastels kit video and was meant to be part of that video. But she kinda grew out of control. Yeah, I know, story of my life. And now she gets to be the star of her own video. At first, I wanted her to be posing with a bird or butterfly under a lovely backdrop of flowers. But then I watched this bit by a Chinese stand-up comic called Madam Wang.
很多人对我们大妈有一个刻板印象，就是拍照喜欢糊着花。
So I hurriedly changed her pose to cover up my aging aesthetics. Once I was done, I scanned and printed a few copies in postcard size. Next, I cut away the background on one of them to make the wings layer. I then roughed in the position of the feathers with my pencil. Of course, I could have drawn them in the initial sketch, but it wasn't interesting enough to me at that time. You see, living with ADHD over the years has made me learn that it's necessary to work alongside my attention and energy levels. This means that instead of forcing myself to do something at the exact moment I don't want to do it, I simply move on to the next part of the project first. Doing things this way keeps the ball rolling and allows me the time to muster up the energy needed and remind myself that whatever it is I don't want to do absolutely needs to be done. This rehearsal time has helped me greatly increase the completion rate of my projects and actually lessened my procrastination. So the point is, don't judge my workflow. Jokes aside, the next part of the project involves the smooshing of the white soft oil pastels with mica powder in hopes of making it shimmery. It didn't work, but I still continued to layer the wings with the palette knife feather by feather from the bottom up, overlapping as I go. I also added more details by using a toothpick to scratch out the feather textures. If you follow my art, you're gonna notice that I create a fair amount of angels. I love them. There's just something inherently romantic about the purity of the white and the boundless freedom to soar wherever you want to go. It resonates with the very essence of why I created this channel in the first place. I want to create a reality where going after what you love is not the outlier but the norm. Help me by giving me a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. In return, I promise to keep honing my craft and produce even better art and videos. Now back to this angel. This is how the wings look like after I was done with both sides. I had wanted to paint everything traditionally at first, so I spent a few hours cutting and painting the layers of the angel before I realized that hand painting meant I would have to paint everything, even on the lower layers, or else the white would show through underneath. So I scrapped all of that and decided it was more practical to paint everything digitally. I found a reference photo with the lighting I wanted. I tried to match the lighting with the reference and immediately started rendering the face. Honestly, the more I draw, the more I realize that my art foundation sadly isn't as strong as I want it to be. I want to improve. I want to actually explain to you guys what in the world I'm doing exactly. With my skills now, I relied a lot on liquify and tonal correction to get to the color scheme I wanted, and there really wasn't much of a method to my madness. I added some flowers and decorations into the composition as a guide for me to position them when I made the clay ones later. I was also deliberating between the two different poses and ultimately decided on the newer one. I like that she is reaching out to the viewer and inviting them to follow along on her journey. Now that I'm done, it's time to print. I took some time to cut out all the layers I needed, and this is what we have for now. Before I can assemble them, I need to adjust the wings to match the changed angle in the digital painting. I also added white soft oil pastels to the ear wings at the same time. Ta-da! Both sets of wings are then painted with acrylics to match the lighting, going from blue and purple to peach and yellow. I then went back to the pigtails layer and folded and curved the pigtails to make them more 3D. I also filled in the edges of the paper with acrylic markers because I didn't like seeing the white on the sides. Once done, I used one layer of foam tape on the left and 2 layers of foam tape on the right to stick the pigtails layer onto the wings layer. This gives the angel a bit of a slant. Next, I superglued tiny gold chains onto the pigtails to create decoration. I then stacked the hair loops layer on top of the pigtails layer with the same method and added gold chains to the hair loops as well. At the time, I couldn't yet visualize the layering of the body and arms after the hair loops layer, so I skipped ahead to make the face first. Tape was added to her eyes to make them shiny. I then glued the Nightmare Fuel layer over it. Her ear and the area below her jaw were also slightly folded to make her more 3D. Eyelashes were then cut from scrap paper, coloured with black marker, then painstakingly added to her eyes, lash by lash with a tweezer. The fringe is also folded and curved before being glued to her forehead and sides of her face with a toothpick. Next, I need to cut off the head of the ear wings layer. The face and ear wings layer are then connected with a piece of foam tape, and the visible ear is glued onto the ear wing underneath. They are then both slightly folded to make them slanted. I then removed her neck from the chopped off body and split the body and her arm. A slit was also cut in between the chest for even more depth. Her clothes were cut out from another body and glued onto a piece of scrap fabric. I made sure to spread the glue onto the outline of the fabric as well, so the fabric will not fray when I trim it to size later. I then repeat the steps with her neck fabric. I cut them off screen once the glue dries and painted both fabrics with heavily watered down acrylics. They are then glued and assembled with the same methods. Time for the assembly so far. Wait, what? Where did the lights come from, you ask? So I spontaneously had this idea of adding lights to this artwork since, of course, she's not elaborate enough. And with the wonders of internet shopping, I got this string of LED lights into my grubby hands the very next day for less than $2. Using my trusty pen knife, I gently cut and peeled off a small circled slice of paper on the background layer where I want the LED light to shine through more. It was tricky as I had to be extra cautious so as to not tear the printed paper on the other side. I then started to secure each LED onto the spaces where I tinned the paper. At first I used super glue to secure the lights, but then quickly switched to tape for the rest of them when I realized that it was a lot faster. Once I was done with all 10 lights, I cut out a piece of styrofoam board I have lying around to the same size as the artwork, making sure to add a hole to nestle the switch in. The little dent in the styrofoam is just me pinching off where I estimate the wires and lights will be with my fingernails. Who needs finesse when only all of you are going to see this? The background layer is glued onto the styrofoam board and the angel is glued onto the background layer. Next, we are skipping to making the flowers as I once again was stuck on how to attach the rest of the angel. I plucked off a small piece of iridescent air dry porcelain clay and mixed it with peach and pink poster colour paint until I was satisfied with the colour. Once I was satisfied with the colour, I rolled out a small strip of pink clay and cut 5 tiny triangles from it. Next, I rolled them into water droplet shapes with my finger. Using a dotting tool, I flattened and rolled them into petals and attached them together with a tweezer and an even smaller dotting tool. The center of each flower is then painted red and blended out to create depth. Next, a bunch of gold threads are glued together, cut off, and the tip dipped in red paint to imitate pollen. They are then glued onto the flowers to mimic their stamen. The flowers are unexpectedly the most tedious part of this artwork. Each flower took almost 10 minutes to complete, and they got blown away into the void if I breathed out too hard while making them. Okay, at least the flower buds are easy. It's just gold thread glued onto a small ball of clay. Thankfully, after having this period of time to think it through, I figured out how to assemble the rest of the artwork. I first hand-painted dark branches and depth impression of flowers on the background layer with poster paint. Using Yoo-Hoo glue, I overlapped the wave design with gold chain onto the side of the angel's head. Once done, I added the prettiest clay flowers and buds I managed to make onto the chain. For the next step, I used dark brown jumping clay to roll thin, long lines. They are then cut and combined together into rudimentary branches. I then created clay flowers for the branches that are darker and even tinier than the ones on the angel's head to create forced perspective. Using square dowels I bought from Daiso, I am measuring and cutting them to create a custom frame for the artwork. I am also making sure to rotate the dowel while cutting it so that the dowel makes a clean break when I, break it. The rest of the dowels are all cut off screen and it's time for assembly. The frame needs to be at the same height of the angel that I have assembled so far to create a base for the outstretched hand. I make sure to alternate the length and the breadth of the frame with double the width of the dowels so that the joints overlap when I stack them together. This will ensure that my frame is nice and sturdy. With this, I can now add the final layers with glue and foam tape, starting from the arm, then gradually moving on to the hand, and ending with the tips of the fingers. I continued to add flowers to the other side of the angel's head and to the background branches. As a final touch, I added some petals on her hair, along with flying petals in the background. I then sign and date my work and we are done! So, how do you find the artwork? Let me know what do you think I can improve on as well. Honestly, I'm actually quite proud of this artwork. She came out a lot prettier than I expected, and I think I managed to create the 3D effect I wanted with my layering technique. All in all, I had created more than 50 flowers, not counting the ones I had lost to the abyss. I reflected afterwards and I'm assuming I'm subconsciously torturing myself and overcompensating for creating this abomination of a flower in the previous video. Go watch it if you want to know what I mean. I'm in love with making 3D effect paintings and I'm going to explore painting on acrylic panels one day. Thank you for watching. Remember to follow your joy. Bye bye! So I'm committing to this Marvel after credits trend and will keep lying about how the video is over when it's not. This is my dopamine hit for completing the video. It's a blind box ball joint doll from May 3. As you can see, it's already been opened and that's because I paid extra to get the specific design I wanted, which is of course another angel. This blonde cutie is a 1/8 size, fully posable ball joint doll. She comes packaged with an entire outfit from these beautiful, transparent holographic shoes to this flowy white winged dress reminiscent of Princess Serenity's dress, which in and of itself is inspired by Christian Dior's iconic 1992 Palladium dress, this intricate white and gold rose crown, and even this stretchy white underwear. This is what she looks like after she is fully dressed. Write Doggy Angel in the comments if you're still watching to confuse the heck out of the other viewers, because this is my new fur baby toe type. Bye!